you for joining this demo of Zoho Motivator. So at a high level, Zoho Motivator leverages the data that's already in your CRM and provides you some tools for gaining real-time visibility into what's going on in your CRM, and also some tools for boosting the performance of your sales team. So it makes it really easy to track and improve performance, and the way it does it is it starts out with some features around analytics. So we provide the ability to track some key metrics or KPIs, and also to have interactive charts to dive down into your data. And so this allows you to track how your performance is going. And then with a few simple clicks, we provide some gamification tools, which just means tools that make the sales process a little bit more like a game. And there's two different elements to that. So one is the sales contest. So you can easily set up a contest to engage your team to create more leads or whatever it is that you want. And we can create this leaderboard that shows how different sales reps are doing to engage them and boost their motivation. But the other element of the gamification is something that we call targets or scorecards. So the idea is that a manager can set up targets for those key sales activities that they know will lead to more sales, like making phone calls or setting up meetings or creating leads or whatever it is. And you can assign targets to either the whole company, teams, or individuals, and then everyone receives this personalized scorecard which shows them how they're doing towards reaching their targets. And I'll show that in more detail in the demo. And then finally, we provide the ability to make everything very visible on large screen TVs in the sales office. So the idea is that any key metrics that you want the team to focus on, you can put on TV very easily. Any of these targets that you've created can be shown on TV. The scorecards can be shown on TV. And then finally, contest leaderboards can be shown on TV. And again, I'll show all of these things in the demo. So those are kind of the key features of Motivator. So the question is, how do you, what are the steps for applying these features in order to boost your sales? It's a pretty simple 4-step process. The first step is spending a little time to set up those key metrics or key performance indicators that you want to track. This is very simple, and I'll show how that works in the demo. The next step is to set up targets for those key sales activities that you know will lead to more sales, like I mentioned, making phone calls or setting up meetings are some examples. Then, depending on your needs, you can create contests to further engage the team and boost motivation. And then finally, you can decide which key metrics or targets or contests that you want to make more visible and put on TVs, perhaps in your sales floor or other places in your office where it will be very visible to the salespeople. So at this point, I'm just about ready to jump into the demo, but before I do, I'd like to talk just a little bit more about the second step here. Just to give a concrete example of what it means to set targets for key sales activities. Okay, so the way this works is you start with an end goal. So let's say that you want to book $1 million in revenue this quarter, and then you basically work backwards based on past performance to figure out intermediate goals in order to get to that end goal. So for example, if on average you have a $10,000 deal size, that tells you that you need to get 100 deals in order to reach your goal. Based on past performance, you may know that you need to get about 3 good opportunities for every deal you close. That means you need to get 300 opportunities. Again, based on past performance, you may know that you need to make 90 phone calls for every opportunity, which means that all in all, you need to get 27,000 calls out. So by working backwards this way, you can then figure out what are the actual targets you can assign to your company or your teams or your individuals. So let's say you've got 66 selling days in the quarter. That means you need to get 410 calls per day. If you've got 10 reps in your team, that means you've got to make 41 calls per rep in order to reach your goal. So this is just an example of how you can work backwards from that end goal to very concrete sales activity goals. And Motivator helps you make those sales activities very clearly defined for your team and give real-time feedback on to help them basically reach those goals in order to reach your sales targets. Okay, so with that, this is the point where I usually jump right into the demo. So just give me one minute.
Or avoid duplications in the right.
Actually, okay. Oops. Let me just make this go back. Okay.
And also,
so this is Motivator here. And what you're seeing is the home screen. And the home screen provides an overview of some of those key metrics that you're tracking here at the top. In the middle, you'll see some of those targets that you've set, and these are the scorecards providing visual feedback on progress towards the goals. And at the bottom, any running contests will appear. And so in other words, the home screen is providing an overview of these things. But then down on the left-hand side here, this is the navigation pane. You can get down to more of the data underlying all of this. So there are dashboards. So this is where all your KPIs are defined, targets and contests. And at the end of the demo, we'll talk a little bit about TV channels. Okay, so I'm just going to remove this. Typically, this is not here. Bear with me one moment. Okay, so by default, Motivator comes with 5 default KPIs set up. Leads created, potentials created, sales won and lost, and the revenue generated. The idea is that right out of the box, you should be able to log into Motivator, and all the data in your CRM will start appearing right here in this dashboard. And as new leads or potentials are created, they're updated in real time in this dashboard. But the other thing that's important to note is that each sales process is a little different. So each customer may want to come in here and configure this dashboard to better match the particular metrics that are important to their sales process that they want to track. So I'm going to show you a few different ways you can customize the dashboard. So one way is by adding new KPIs. So I'm going to go right here where it says Add KPIs. And for any module in CRM, you can just click on any one of these here, and it will actually add a KPI for tracking new records created in that module. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Motivator does work with custom modules and custom fields. And then you can just click here at the top if you just want to define one from scratch. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to click on New KPI. Okay, so KPIs allow you to track a few different things. You can just sum up things like sum of the records, or if you're looking at potential records, you can sum up the values in the amount field. So that's probably the most common kind of KPI. The other types of KPIs you support are averages. So you can look at average deal size or the average number of employees in your leads or in your potentials. And then we also provide the ability to compare to different KPIs as a rate or a ratio. So you could look at potentials created versus leads created, or you could actually look at win rate. So I'm going to start out by just creating a simple sum KPI. And the first step is to add a behavior. And behaviors are those things that you're tracking in CRM and assigning points. So I'm clicking here. So the first step is just picking which module you want to track. So let's say we want to track phone calls. I can click here on the calls module. It's possible then also to reuse the behavior definitions that you've defined in the past, but I'm just going to do this from scratch. So by default, we're going to be counting 1 point for each record that's created. The other options you have are any numeric field in a record can also be summed up, as I mentioned before, but let's just stick with records. We're going to select records that were created during the period. You can also do it based on any time field in the period as well, but I'm just going to stick with record creation. And then in terms of points, I'm going to assign those to the owner of the record. You can also do it to the creator or the last person to modify it. Typically, the owner is the right choice. So just to clarify what's happening right now, by default, this is going to be assigning 1 point for every call record that's created. And when you're looking at calls per month, it's going to look at all those call records that were created in the month, for example. And then when you break this down and look at your different reps, it's going to show the calls broken down by the record owner. And then finally at the bottom we have these things called custom rules. And so this allows you, it's like a filter that you can apply to the records that you're retrieving before you assign points as defined above. And you can just pick any field inside the CRM record in order to create a filter. So let's say we wanted to do this by call purpose. Then you can pick an operation, let's say equals. And so for example, we have different types of calls, prospecting, administrative, and so forth. Let's say I just want to count prospecting calls. So what happens is this is applied as a filter, and it only pulls out the call records where the call purpose equals prospecting, and then assigns 1 point per record as we defined up above. So now I'm going to save this record. So that's basically all you need to do to define a KPI. The next step here is just to give it a name. So we can call this prospecting calls. And then this review screen just lets you confirm that everything you've just defined looks good. One detail here is that most KPIs, the goal is to increase them, so making more calls, creating more leads, and so forth. But if you're tracking a KPI like lost sales this month, you might say that the objective is to decrease it. In that way, Motivator knows that when you have less lost sales, it's a good thing versus more lost sales, which is a bad thing. Okay. So I'm going to save this now, and what it's done is it's added this prospecting calls KPI here to the default dashboard. And so I just showed you that it's very easy to add new KPIs by just defining them here. You can also go inside and you can edit the KPIs that are here and change the way that they're defined. And the final way that you can configure dashboards is to go here, which allows you to reorder things on the dashboard. So I'm clicking the configure link now, and I'm going to take that prospecting KPIs that I just defined, and I'm going to put it at the top and save that. And so now you see it's appeared here at the top. And another point I'd like to make is that when you go back to the home screen is really just showing the first 4 KPIs defined on the default KPIs dashboard. So in other words, it makes sense to configure this dashboard to track those key metrics that are most important and put the most important ones at the very top so that they'll appear here on the home screen. Okay, so when you start using Motivator, you go in, you configure your default KPIs, and you define those key metrics that you want to track. And once you've done that, the next step is to start setting up some targets. So let's say, for example, you wanted to set up a target for lead creation. So you can go to this lead created KPI and click here on this little menu. And this is, like I said, you can edit your KPIs here, but you can also set targets. So I'm going to click on Set Targets now. So setting targets is really simple. The first step is just picking a period. Is it a daily, weekly, monthly target? I'm going to say monthly here. And now this is the target setting screen. So I'm not going to talk about the personal targets right now. Personal targets allow sales reps to set targets for themselves and no one else sees them. I'm going to talk about the company, team, and individuals. So as a manager, you might want to set a lead creation target for the company. So Motivator provides a little bit of historical data to give you some perspective. So over the last 3 months, on average, the company's created about 246 targets. Last month, they created 235. Let's set a more aggressive target. Say this month, I want the team to try to get 300 leads created. Then I can break that number down across the teams that I've defined in Motivator. We can talk a little bit more about that later, how you do that. So let's say I want my West Coast team and my East Coast team each to be responsible for 150 leads per month. And then you can break this down further to the individual level if you like. But for this example, I'm just going to stick with the company and team levels. So once I've done that, I can review that the targets look good. I can also ask Motivator to notify the people that they have targets set for them. So I'm going to leave that on and then hit save. Okay. So what's happened now is we've created a leads created target where we're saying we're supposed to get 300 per month. And then as I mentioned, we broke that down 150 per month for each team. And the idea is that this scorecard here is providing visual feedback on how we're doing towards that goal. In terms of the target for the company, if I go over here, it shows me that to be on track today, I should get to 165. So it's just telling me I need to get 34 more leads to on pace to stay on track to reach the goal by the end of the month. And it's shown in white because I'm within 25% of where I should be today. On the other hand, the East Coast team is showing that they need to get 23 more to get on pace today, and it's showing in yellow because this is more than 25% off target where I should be today to reach my goal. So in other words, it's providing very visual and actionable feedback, what the reps need to do on a daily basis to stay on pace to reach their goals each month. So that's basically the idea behind the targets. Okay, so now that we've talked about setting up KPIs and setting targets, I want to talk about creating a contest. So before I jump into the contest, I'd like to show that there's the ability to drill down and see more information about each of these KPIs. So let's say I wanted to get a little more perspective on the potentials created. I can click on this KPI, and Motivator shows this trend chart showing the potential creation over the past month. And by the way, on any dashboard or any chart, you can actually come up here and you can change the period. So let's say I wanted to look at the last 90 days. I can do that, and the chart updates to show me the potentials created over the last 90 days. Another feature I can do is I can compare this to other KPIs. So let's say I want to look at account creation as well, and it'll just put both of those things in the same chart. So another thing that you can do is that you can break down the chart by different dimensions. So let's say I wanted to break this down by team. So now I'm looking at potential creation by team, and I can see how many potentials were created by each team over the last 90 days. Another thing I can do is I can click on any one of these bars, and down below it will show the list of potential records that was created by that team. And by clicking on any one of these, it will open up the record in CRM so I can inspect it if I want to get more information. So in addition to team, I can break it down by employee. So this is showing each of my different sales reps and how many potentials they created. And just like with teams, I can click on any one of these, and it will show me the records created by that particular employee. Excuse me. And then finally, you can take different fields that are in the CRM record and break it down that way as well. So actually, let me. Why is that? Let's check one thing here. Okay. Okay, potentials. I think I meant to look at leads. Excuse me. So I'm just going to jump out real quick. So when I do this demo, I typically do look at leads because it leads into the contest that I like to create. So let's say I want to break this down by industry. So I'm looking at the different lead records and looking at the different industries that they come from. And so let's say I notice down here that I don't have that many leads from the wireless industry, but I know from past performance that it's a good industry to go after because I can close the deals quickly and they're usually a good deal size and so forth. So I've used the analytics to give me more insights into what's going on with the lead creation, and I've gained the insight that I want to create a contest to motivate the team to create more wireless industry leads. Okay, so now I can go back to the home screen thing, and I can click here on leads, and I can say create a contest. Okay, so by default, Motivator, in just a single click, will create a contest that runs for a couple of months. It includes everyone in the company, and it's just going to assign points for creating more leads. But you can actually customize aspects of the contest by either clicking here or by clicking here on the left-hand side, which is basically just almost like a list of steps in a wizard for defining the contest. So let's jump up to the contest type just so you understand. You can have contests between individuals, you can have contests between teams, you can have a contest that includes a goal where the whole group of individuals or teams is supposed to reach a certain target value. But I'm just going to stick with a simple contest between individuals. Okay, I'm going to click next. So these are the behaviors, but I'm going to go in and edit this behavior. So instead of giving points for every lead record, I want to look at the industry segment. Where is the industry segment? There it is. And I'm going to say that the industry should equal wireless. So in the example we were talking about here, we want to motivate the team to create more wireless industry leads. So this is just going to be applied as a filter, and only the leads that are from the wireless industry will get points as defined above. So now I've saved that. And one point I'd like to make here before I move on is that you can actually add multiple behaviors here. So I could have a certain number of points for one industry, a different number of points for a different industry, or I could even give a certain number of points for creating leads and a different number of points for creating potential. So it's very flexible in terms of the behaviors you can define. Okay, I'm going to click next. I'm going to involve everyone in the company, but this is where you could actually just select a few people or just a couple teams if you wanted to. I'm going to click next here. Observers, so anyone who's not involved in the contest itself but who should be receiving notifications or updates about the contest can be added here. So let's say you created a contest for one of your sales teams and you wanted the CEO to receive notifications. You could add the CEO here in the observer section. The next section is prizes, so I'm going to add a few prizes here. So prizes are completely optional, and right now I'm just reusing prizes I defined in the past. Prizes are essentially just a name, a prize name or a label, and a value, and these things will show up on the TV, which I'll show in just a moment. So just having a leaderboard is a great way to motivate the team to perform their best, but adding prizes can make things a little bit more fun and interesting. Okay, in terms of the period, typically you want contests to run just for a couple weeks or a month. Going much longer than that will kind of lead to fatigue, and people may not really be engaged at the beginning and only engage at the end, so typically best practice is to go with shorter contests. But for this example anyway, I'm going to go back into the past so I can actually show you some real data on the leaderboards. So normally the contest would start like the same day or the next day or something, sometime in the future. Finally, there's notifications. We can announce the contest the day before it starts. We can provide a notification of when the contest is sort of entering the home stretch, which means sort of the end of the contest, and we can give updates to the leaders like, hey, you used to be in first place, you've just been knocked down to second place. So the notifications are basically to keep the whole team engaged in the contest and aware of what's going on and kind of focused on doing their best. Okay, so let's call this wireless leads. So this is a contest to create more wireless leads, and then the next step is to review. So again, the review screen lets you double check all the things you set up, and when you're satisfied, you can just hit save. Okay, so once you've created a contest, Motivator automatically creates this leaderboard and updates it in real time. So every time one of your reps creates a new wireless lead, the points will be scored here and they'll be re-ranked if needed. We have some performance charting here to give you a sense of how things are going in the contest. And down here at the bottom, we have a section called latest activities. This is sort of like an audit trail. So as a manager, you can kind of look at all the records that are scoring points in this contest, and if you want to drill down and get any more information, you can just click on the record and it will open it up in Zoho CRM. Okay, it looks like we have to look into that. A couple of the things I'd like to mention is we talk about notifications. So notifications will appear here in Motivator, and they will also appear in Zoho CRM here. So for the people who are in the contest, they will see messages here saying that they, the target was set for them, or they're in a contest, or whatever, and all those messages come there. And this is a nice way to see the contest on your desktop or laptop machine, but really the most powerful way to motivate the team is to put this kind of thing on a TV screen. So now I'm going to talk about the TV channels. Okay, there's something funny going on here. So the contest channel is a channel that automatically shows you any currently running contests. So this is a contest that was created before called prospecting calls. And it's just kind of an engaging animated screen showing the leaderboard and showing, sort of highlighting some of the leaders, showing the prizes and how much time is remaining in the contest. And in just a moment, you'll see the contest we just created, which is
requirement call.
Okay, so the idea here is that this TV channel can be shown on any large screen TV just using a URL. So if you connect a laptop to a large screen TV, you can show this on the TV screen, and it will appear in a way that's scaled correctly to the large screen TV. The other thing that you can do is you can take the URL itself. I just clicked on the share link here, and you can share that with someone by mailing it to them, or for example, you could also add it as a tab in CRM. So you guys, I haven't tested this with the new CRM UI, and it looks like there's some things going on there a little bit funny. Mm-hmm. The idea is that you can add a tab in CRM to show Motivator TV as well if you want, or just put it in any web tab. Okay. So the other thing that you can do is you can create new custom channels. So I'm going to click here on the new button. Okay. So once you create a custom channel, you just give it a name, like let's say my TV channel. There's a few settings you can set, but the most important thing is that you can add any combination of KPIs, targets, or contests to the channel. So let's say we just wanted to focus people on, I don't know, account creation. We can add that as a KPI. We can show targets on the channel as well. So we set some targets for lead creation. I can do that. And then we can show any contests we want. So let's say the wireless leads one we just showed. So you can reorganize those things here. So let's say we wanted to put the accounts created at the top and the contest at the end. You have a few different choices. You can show the KPI that you're tracking in terms of a leaderboard. So for any KPI, any metric, you can just show a breakdown of your reps and how they're doing, or you can show a snapshot for the whole company. So let's say we're going to do a snapshot there, and then you can pick the period. And then for the leads created, we can either show a leaderboard for the teams, or we can show a snapshot for the company or any of the teams. Let's just show a leaderboard for the teams. And then you can add announcements. Okay, and then I'm going to save all of this. And then once you've saved this, it should give you a preview of what that channel will look like. Okay, so this is just looking at the summary value of the accounts created KPI for this month. And it's showing that it's up since last month. This is showing the breakdown of the lead created target between the two teams. And then finally, there's the contest. So the main point about the TV channel is that, bringing visibility to key metrics or targets or contests in a very visual way on a TV is a great way to engage the team and motivate them to perform their best. Another point I like to make here is that some companies have a culture where they want to have contests and a little friendly competition is fun. But you don't necessarily have to create a contest. You can really just focus people on KPIs and target values. And even without a contest, you can create a leaderboard just for a particular KPI. So very flexible what you can do with a TV. Okay, so those are the main features in the demo. The other thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is how you do the settings. So I'm clicking here at the top right and going to settings. So the first thing to notice is that all the users that you see here in Motivator are just your CRM users from your CRM org. And anyone who's an admin in CRM is automatically an admin in Motivator, so we don't have a separate admin model. And then however many people that you want to track in terms of key metrics or setting targets or participating in contests, they need a license in Motivator. So however many licenses you have, you can just basically activate those CRM users in Motivator. We also allow you to create different teams. So at this time, we don't let you use the groups or the roles or other things that are defined in CRM. That's something we may be doing in the future. For now, you can just create a new team and assign the users. And that's a way to set team targets and break down the data by team. You can customize Motivator with the custom logo that appears here, but also on the TV screen. And then one of the very important things to mention is how the CRM sync works. So the very first time that you log into Motivator, Motivator pulls in all the data from your CRM and synchronizes it. And that may take a few seconds to a few minutes the very first time, depending on how much data you have. But then moving forward, we update all the data in real time. So every time something changes in CRM, it will change in Motivator. The one thing I'd like to mention, though, is that if you add new custom modules or you change the fields in your modules after you've done that initial sync, you currently need to come into this CRM sync thing and click this button here to just tell Motivator, hey, I have a new data model in CRM, and then once you've told Motivator, once again, everything will synchronize and be automatic in the future. So that is basically all I wanted to say in terms of the demo. So let's jump back into the slides. Okay, so here I'd just like to show a couple examples of one of our customers. So here you're seeing that in the conference room they've put a TV screen and they're actually showing some of the key metrics that they're tracking. So they're showing a dashboard. In some cases they'll actually show scorecards for all the different teams and individuals in the company. And I guess this is making those things very visible, but it's also something they use when they have the the sales management meetings to really figure out how things are going and what they want to do to improve performance. And then in the sales floor itself, they also put dashboards, scorecards, and leaderboards on these large screen TVs. Again, trying to make it very visible so that people can see how things are going. And they've definitely had a lot of good luck boosting both their lead potential conversion rates as well as their potential to sales conversion rates. A couple other data points about our customers. Teams of all different sizes use it. Most of our customers are in the 5 to 10 user range. We have many in the 10 to 25 range, and then a few in the 25, 50, or 100 plus range. A lot of companies are very focused on using the dashboards, just gaining real-time visibility into CRM, and then later they start to do things more with targets and contests. It's really popular with companies using call automation. So if you have a call center and you're logging a lot of calls and they're going into CRM, Motivator makes it really easy to put those things instantly up on TVs to bring visibility to how things are going and to kind of energize the team. We've got customers from a wide range of industries and countries, and we support English, Spanish, German, French, and Japanese. Okay, so in summary, Motivator helps you gain real-time visibility into your CRM data. With just a few clicks, you can set up targets and contests to motivate winning sales behaviors. It's really easy to put all of that on the large screen TV to boost visibility and engage the team. And the main goal here, of course, is to boost sales. But in addition, Motivator helps drive CRM adoption. It can increase teamwork. You set up contests where people work together, and it really engages the team in a way that they're not engaged before. Okay. So I'll briefly talk about the plans and the pricing. We have a free plan that works for up to 5 users and has some limitations. You can set up some standard dashboards. You can set up targets and have a scorecard for just the company level. You can run one contest at a time, and you can view that on the contest TV channel. The paid features provide a little bit more flexibility. So once you get into the paid feature pack, all of these are the same in terms of features. It just depends on how many users you need. So you get a number of custom dashboards. You can do access control around your dashboards. You can set targets and get scorecards for teams and individuals. You can run unlimited contests. You can create those custom TV channels where you combine things like the metrics and the targets and the contests. And the ability to just create a leaderboard around any KPI or target is also part of the paid plan. So it starts at about $12 per user per month for small volume, and as you get more and more users, it gets cheaper per user. So at the 25 plus range, it's about $8 per user per month. And one thing I like to tell our customers too is that there are definitely case studies in the Salesforce ecosystem where using a tool that does this kind of sales activity management and contests can sometimes boost sales, even doubling sales in short periods like 6 to 8 weeks. So this kind of a pricing model is very, very aggressive. Okay. All right, guys, did you have any questions? That was a little bit rough, but that's the overview. And also, by the way, the demo I did for you was maybe a little more in-depth than I do for customers. I don't necessarily go into so much detail, but I wanted to make sure you guys really understood all the different features.
Mm-hmm. Sure, we understood, all the features, what you said now.
Okay, great. I'm just going in here, by the way, now. Afterwards, I go and I just clean up. So this demo account, I think you guys should have the credentials. If not, I can share that with you. But it's the same account when someone logs into Motivator for the first time. Before they sync it with their own data, they're actually going to see this. So we need to keep this account more or less cleaned up. So after demos, I always go through and delete the contests and delete those targets that I created. Does that make sense? So when users first log into Motivator, they actually start out in the mode seeing this demo data, and then they have the ability to switch over and use their, so you try Motivator with demo data or view Motivator with flipping back to their own data. Also, I just want to mention there's something funny going on here. So I'm going to talk to our dev team. This should only be like about 4 entries instead of this weird repeated thing that we saw here. I'll try to figure out what's going on there. And then the other thing too is I don't know what's going on in CRM right now, but I'm going to talk to the dev team and make sure everything's working correctly. So whenever you click on like one of these records in Motivator, it should just open it up in CRM.
In CRM, okay. Probably yeah. We will
so that
also
one works.
check.
That one worked. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'll double check here, but that one worked. You saw, but for some reason that other one I clicked on in that contest is just kind of hung. And then also Motivator TV should be showing in here. I'm not sure why that's not. Anyway,
Motivator TV, we will have a quick check with our developers here. I wanted to ask you, in the trial edition or in the paid edition, users have an option to look at the video on the right-hand side top?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I think so.
Yeah, you just clicked it.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is the, and by the way, this video is probably better than the one we just did for sharing with people. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a slightly different version, but it's the same basic thing. So yeah, so if you're going to share a customer video, probably that's the better one to share. Does that sound okay?
Nice, yeah.
Glad you noticed that. Another thing is, I do actually usually tell the customers that if they just click on this, they'll get in contact with me in Condo. I don't know whether we should put one of you guys or all of you guys on that as well. I'm not sure, but that's an easy way for them to reach us if they need further help.
Okay. And the email is sent to you?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. An email is sent to you when they click on contact?
Exactly. That's an email that's sent to me and Conda, and basically it's just support at zohomotivator.com.
Okay, understood.
Yep. So actually now, just to go like meta one, jump back a level and talk about this. So I've definitely noticed that when we get calls, there's there's those 3 different categories. I think I mentioned in my email. There's some people who really want, just tell me all about Motivator, tell me about the key features and show me a demo, etc. And then maybe afterwards I might want to talk to you about some of the stuff in my, in my own situation. And then in that case, I will then pass control to them at the end, and then I will help them, set up their KPIs, right? So that's a very common case. But there are definitely other cases where, hey, I learned about this a couple weeks ago. I created an account. I've been playing around with it for a while. I need help. I need you to help me, more like a support kind of thing. I need to help me configure my dashboard. And in some cases, those people will also say, but you know what? Why don't you just tell me about the key features again, just to make sure I understand them? And so that's not happened a lot, but it's happened a few times. So in that case, I usually use these slides. I'm just going to show you. So this is a slide that says, real-time dashboards, bring insights, and here are the key points. The targets do this. The scorecards, give you the visual feedback. The contests are easy to create and customize. And then here in the TV screen, in the TV slide, I actually have a little video where I can just show it. So it's entirely up to you guys. So if you feel more comfortable using these slides to go over the key features rather than covering it all in the demo, that's also an option for you. I typically feel, though, when I'm talking, the next point is just that we have both a mobile responsive app, web app that's mobile responsive, but we also have a iOS app as well. The reason I typically don't show that is because I feel like when I'm talking to the customers, they typically want a quick overview and then they want to jump right in the demo. So I just don't, I don't typically use those slides, but it's entirely up to you. It's a completely valid way to make sure they understand the key features before you jump into the demo, if you prefer. That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, so I didn't plan to go over this with you guys. There's a bunch of extra slides in this deck. I'm going to share you after the call. I'll share you guys the latest version. If you're interested in any of this stuff, we can talk about it, or we can talk about it another time, or it's there for you if you need it. But I really don't think, I've never had to get into this level of detail, I don't think, with just a customer demo. Let's see if there's anything here I ever talk about. Not really. I mean, this is something that's worth mentioning. But, a lot of people, when they see Motivator, they initially think the pricing seems a little high. So just to give you a comparison, Level 11 and Hoopla are a couple of the leaders in the Salesforce ecosystem. They don't even have a plan that's tailored for 5 users. They start at 10 users. And their cheapest plan is $600 per month. So that's $60 per user per month. And it's not until you get up to 25 users that you can get it a little bit cheaper. Wait, why does that also say 60? There's something not quite right with that. But the point I'd like to make, and I never show this to a customer though, is that, again, the point is Motivator, just by setting targets for some key sales activities like having meetings or making phone calls or just creating a contest to motivate people to do something over the course of a few weeks, can in some cases lead to doubling the sales from the previous period. So the point is that it's a very high return on investment, so the pricing shouldn't be a concern for people. So that's pretty much it, I think. Okay, is there anything else I could help you guys with?
Not really, but can you go back to Motivator screen?
Yeah, sure.
So it goes by order, isn't it? First KPIs, and you can look at the KPIs, what you have set in the dashboards, then set targets to individuals, companies, and the group.
Exactly.
And then run a contest, and whatever you run, whatever the result, you can see it in TV channels.
Correct, you got it. That's exactly right. And then the numbers that this kind of shows that same organization. So you got the dashboards, you've got the targets, you've got the contests, and then you've got the TV channels. And then the home screen is just providing an overview of just a few selected ones from each of those categories. By the way, you just reminded me one thing I didn't show. I didn't show this. Okay.
Pick which one should be displayed in the home screen?
Great question. So it doesn't do that right now. Right now it's automatic. The only thing you can do is make sure that the most important KPIs are at the front, because the first 4 are the ones that are placed here. But we're currently working on a completely new model here. So right now everything's separated, as you saw. and the home screen is completely automatically defined, as you just asked about. But what we're trying to do now is we're trying to make it really easy to create a dashboard where you put a few KPIs, you can put a few targets, you can select whatever you want and put it on the dashboard, so the home screen will become a configurable dashboard, just like you're saying. And all the dashboards now could combine both KPIs and targets. So that's the thinking. That's something we've already spec'd it and we're starting to work on it right now. And another detail is that right now the period that you're looking at, and also whether you're looking at the company or if you're looking at teams, or you can also filter dashboards by teams and individuals, and it's all done at the dashboard level. But what we're going to change is in the new design, the KPIs themselves, you could have like prospecting calls by team A next to prospecting calls by team B. And you can look at potentials created this month, and you can have another KPI next to it that's potentials from last month. So in other words, we're going to make the dashboard much more configurable, so they can just basically look at whatever they want in one dashboard. And I think the vision for that too is that once we have that done, the channels don't necessarily have to always be this kind of scrolling thing. The channels could actually look a little bit more like, let's say one screen shows a few KPIs, a couple targets, and then the next screen would show a couple contests. So in other words, moving to a model where you can really configure what you want to see in the dashboard with a combination of different data, and then see something that looks more like that on the TV as well. And that was actually based on seeing that some of our customers, we didn't expect customers to be doing this, looking at targets and looking at KPIs on their TV. We always thought that they'd be doing, our TV channel interface. So based on the experience of seeing how people are using it, we're going to make the TV able to basically combine something that looks more like selected KPIs that they're interested in, selected targets, whatever contest they want, and display it however they want on the TV. If that makes sense to you. That's a lot of information, but that's kind of the direction we're moving now.
Okay, you showed us an example on leads. Can we also take a look at potentials? Like we'll set a target, and let's see potential specific to salespeople. If a potential is closed, sales closed, automatically a point has to be added to that particular rep. Can we take a look at that?
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second. Yeah, we can do that. It's a good one. So, by the way, I just want to mention here, this is also a bug. I'm going to talk to the team. I don't know why this is showing up. So, typically, if you have a couple channels, well, I guess it's because we had a bunch of channels repeated that they're showing up repeatedly in here. So, I'll fix that as well. But okay, so let's say we want to create a contest for potentials, for example. So right now, again, by default, it's just assigning 1 point for every potential that's created. But we can go in there and we can edit it. So it's selecting the records with the closing date in the period. And that, by the way, is kind of it's a slight limitation of how Motivator works. And for some customers, they need to understand that either we can create records, we can select records based on when they're created, or when they're modified, or when they have the closing date in the period. But the modified, okay, I'm not explaining this very well, but the best way to deal with closed deals is to look at the date. Because if someone goes in and edits a potential record, for example, and just changes the name, and you've picked this modified in the period as the way of selecting records, then we're going to pick the record just because the name changed, and that's not really what you want. So the way we're picking records is based on the closing date being in the period, and then what you were saying is we want to say, for example, that you can use the probability, for example, or you could use the stage equals, for example, closed 1. So this would basically say take any record where the closing date was changed to be within the period, and the stage equals closed 1. And actually, I'll tell you right now, this is worth mentioning, a lot of our customers will just create a custom rule in CRM so that when they change the stage to closed 1, the rule automatically fires and updates the closing date to be the current day. Does that make sense?
Oh, they do it in CRM.
Yes. And so in other words, in CRM, whenever a rep marks something as closed, either won or lost, automatically the workflow in CRM will update the closing date in CRM, because that way the person doesn't have to remember to do it. But then in Motivator, we know how to select all those records where the closing date was updated. And then you can check any one of these any one of these filters that you want to set. That's another thing. This is an issue that a few of our customers, maybe it's worth, just so you guys really understand this. So for example, let's say someone wanted to give people points for entering an email address, for example, or updating an email address. You might think that you could just say modify, sorry, I'm doing the wrong thing here. You might say select the record based on it being modified and check that I don't know if do we have email addresses and potentials, whatever, let's just use this. And you could say not equals is not empty, for example. But what happens here is that Motivator will select any record that was modified during the period, and it will just check to see if this is true, and if it's true, it will assign a point. So the general workaround for all of these things, just like the closed thing, is that we tell them, create a date field in your record that means the email address was updated. And then whenever someone goes in and types in the new email address, update the date field, and then that's how we select the record. This is probably very confusing to you. I think we have this written down somewhere so I can share it with you, but it's kind of a known issue that we're working on. But one thing that we're doing right now to fix it for potentials is that we're going to have record selection based on stage change. So instead of saying one of these things right here, it's going to say record selection based on stage change or stage changing to closed. And then they won't have to do the date field and all that other funny stuff I was just talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So hold on, let me just do another thing here too. So we have this thing called sales one. Let me just show you how this one's defined. So the way that sales one is defined is basically what I was saying before. So it looks for records where the closing date is set to occur during the period. Oops, I just went in there. It does it to the record creator. Sometimes you might want to change that to the owner. Point per record, and it's checking the probability. But you could just as equally do the stage thing that we did. We just, either the probability or the stage is two different ways to get the same thing. So I just wanted to mention that one of the default KPIs does that, the sales won and sales lost, and also the revenue generated. Let me show you that one too so you understand how that works. So revenue generated, it's doing the same thing. So it's selecting records. Let me just go in there. It's selecting records with the closing date in the period, but it's using instead of giving a point per record, it's using the record's amount field as points. So any numeric field in a CRM record can be used as the way to compute the points. So what it's really doing is it's just summing all the points, it's summing all the amount fields with the closing date in the period, where the probability equals 100. And so as a result, it's going to basically be picking out all the records. Oops, how do I get out of here? It's going to just pick out all of the records where the closing date, was set, like during this month. It was set to 100% probability, meaning it was one deal. And then it's just looking at the amount field, and it's summing up the amount from all those records to come up with this value. Does that make sense? And then just like anything else here, you can break this down by team to see how many dollars were generated by each of the teams, how many dollars were generated by employees, and then again, clicking on that shows you the actual deals that they closed. And if you want to go click on that, it should open up in CRM.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, one last thing. I typically don't talk about this with customers, but if someone asks, I forgot to mention. So most of our dashboards are this kind of simple, configurable default KPI thing. We have a couple pipeline dashboards. So one of them is pipeline velocity, and it's actually pretty well described here, so you can even read this when you talk to people. It indicates how quickly opportunities are moving through the pipeline on their way to becoming closed deals. It's computed by multiplying open potentials times the win rate times the deal size and dividing it by the sales cycle length. So it's really just kind of almost like a stock index. It's an index value showing you how many dollars are moving through your pipeline on a monthly basis, more or less, and you don't want to see this going downward. If it starts to go downward, you know that either you need more open potentials, or you need to boost your win rate or your deal size, or maybe reduce your sales cycle time. So some people really like this. They think it's cool. It gives them a sense of, an index value they can track and, for the health of their pipeline and stuff. But a lot of people don't even get to this level. They're more tracking the simple KPIs. The pipeline stage is also, I'm going to be very frank with you guys, this is not very useful right now. We're going to try to improve it. All it's showing basically is that for a given period, like let's say we're talking about this month, for all the potentials that were closed during this month, where did they fall off in the pipeline? So in other words, only 96% made it from the qualification stage to the next stage. Some of those fell out before they got out. But literally, this is just looking at the ones that were closed this month. and it's showing the win rate in the sales cycle. I typically tell people not to worry about this very much and that we're doing something better. You know, CRM already has sort of a pipeline visualization that I think is more useful for that kind of purpose. And what we're doing, what we're working on for this one is, instead of showing this, we're going to actually show what is the average time that potentials stay in each of the different stage. And then we're going to flag for you the potentials that are staying for longer than that, for example. And then you can easily get a list of the potentials that seem like they might be stuck in the chain in that stage, and then you can follow up on those potentials. You can go talk to the sales reps, or you can even create a contest to get people to try to move those potentials to the next stage. So that's our new model is, how long do things spend in stages, and flagging and showing people the ones that seem to be stuck and giving them the ability to do something about it. Because everything we're trying to do in Motivator is give a dashboard where you get a little information, but there's something you can do about it. That's the whole idea. So for any KPI, you can set targets for it, you can create a contest for it, and in the pipeline stages, we really want to make this more actionable, and right now it isn't. So anyway, so now you know about those, but we typically don't try to sell people too much on the pipeline dashboards. And by the way, I should just mention, people get very confused about this because they say, wait a minute, I've got all these other potentials and I'm not seeing them here, but this is literally only showing potentials closed in the selected period. That's what really confuses people. So if they're looking at this month or they're looking at the last 90 days, it's literally only showing closed potentials. These are all closed. You know, some of them made it all the way to closed one, but others were closed out before that. Anyway, I gave you a lot of information about this, but the point is it often doesn't come up, and if people get confused about it, almost encourage them, say, hey, we're doing something much more useful here, where we're going to flag potentials that have been stuck in a stage for too long and give you a list, and you should just wait for that new dashboard to come out. You know. So any other questions, you guys?
When is the new dashboard expected, new UI?
So the one that's more configurable that we're talking about actually is going to take a while. We're hoping that, let's see, September, I think. We're hoping end of September we'll have at least part of it done, but I'm not sure. The one for pipeline stages, and again, this almost never comes up, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. This one, we don't know. It's going to be after September.
Okay.
Okay, well, since I still got you, I'll just tell you some other things. There's this manage thing, so for the dashboards, you can actually delete dashboards or rename them, and you can, in the paid plans, you can also define who can see it. So this is saying everyone can see it, but you could change that and say, you know, only this team can see it, or, you know, only a couple individuals. So anyway, access control, that's all that is for dashboards. One other point I'll make about targets, if I haven't totally overwhelmed you with information, is as a manager, I see all the targets, but for any particular rep, they just see a personalized scorecard, and the personalized scorecard is targets set for the company, for any teams they're a member of, and for them as an individual. So in other words, reps won't see the targets for all the other reps unless a manager decides to put that on the TV.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Perfect.
A lot of information. I'm happy to follow up afterwards too if you have more questions, and I'll send you a link to the slides I used today.
Please
anything else you can
just forward that email, and I will share it with my team here.
Perfect.
I'm done with questions. Thank you so much, guys. You have any questions?
Nope.
Yep. Okay. Hey, I just thought of one more thing I just want to communicate. So, CRM has Game Scope right now, right? It's the new gamification module, and it's supposed to be kind of a fun peer-to-peer contest with, badges and what is it? You can win badges and something else, awards or something like that. And so I think it helps to understand that we're trying to position Motivator a little bit differently than that. So the idea is to just, let me see, let me go back to that one slide because I think that one slide captures it. So Motivator is kind of about very quickly gaining real-time visibility into what's going on. That's the dashboard part. And then using targets and contests to kind of manage sales activities. So some people are starting to call this kind of a tool as sales activity management. So we're starting to think about maybe, so the current Motivator homepage, for example, talks a lot about contests, and it's going to change very soon. It's going to shift to this gaining real-time insight, real-time visibilities into your CRM data and managing sales activities with targets and contests, and then using the TV to kind of boost the engagement further. So I'm just trying to explain how it's a little bit different than it's more about a manager managing sales performance, whereas GameScope's supposed to be a little bit more about interesting peer-to-peer and fun games. I mean, it could also be used by managers, but this is the kind of difference. And it's also the difference between Motivator and reports. We're not trying to replace reports. Reports is much more, in depth and in some ways a little bit more complex as well. So our idea is just dead simple, tracking simple day-to-day activities that you want to see how they're going, and then with a couple clicks you want to set targets for them and create contests. So that's kind of the way that we're positioning it, as different from GameScope and as different from reports. Does that make sense?
Understood.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I'll reply to the email that you just sent, and I will give you the link to the latest slides. And do you guys have the account credentials to get into this demo account? Do you know?
No. Can you share?
Okay, I think Arun has them, but I can send those to you as well. But the thing to remember, I just want to remind you one more time, is that this demo account, every new customer to Motivator, when they go into the trial, right now, by default, they'll see the same account. So let's just make sure not to go crazy. Let's just keep it clean. You know what I'm saying? So after a demo, delete the new things that were created. Sound okay?
Okay.
If you're concerned about that, you could create your own separate demo account. That's the other way to go. Whatever works for you guys. I use the same one, but I just make sure when I'm done doing the demo, I delete new contests, new targets, so that it's not too overwhelming.
All right. No problem. For doubt purpose, we'll take a look at this. For evaluating, playing, we'll have our own Motivator account set up.
Okay, great. Sounds good. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate your time. So I guess what we're going to do, just to, right now this where is it? Schedule demo. This right now goes to my scheduling, but Arun's been working with the marketing team to create a new form that's going to route the demo request to you guys, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that yet. So we're going to update Motivator probably this week so that the new requests will start going to you guys. If you guys schedule slots where I'm awake, where it's or it's work hours for me in my time zone, I'm happy to jump in on a call if you guys need help. And particularly if you're doing a demo for like a really big customer and you want me to jump in, I'm really happy to do that. Just let me know. So you guys, I'll double check with the room, but you're okay with that. So if we change the form to point to your guys' form this week, probably by the end of the week or by next week, you might start getting requests.
Okay.
Okay.
Happy to go forward.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good. All right, awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Thanks
All right,
for the time.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.